Hi everyone, welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. It's myself and Terry, and today we're joined by James again from the Babbling Blues. James, you were on our pre-match stream for the derby, and I haven't seen you since. I know you were in our chat last night, and just want to get your feelings about that, mate, because remember, we were sort of talking it down, weren't we, in the stream? And we will get on to Southampton, I promise, but just want to get your feelings about that, especially after we were expecting so little.
Well, I mean, I don't mind talking about the derby game. To be fair, I'll do that till the day I die. But we were proper crying it in, weren't we? Because we were saying like, oh well, yeah, we've been beat every which way. It can't get any worse. And then I think we might have settled on a 1-1 or a 1-0 in the end. And then obviously we scored after like 3-4 minutes, and I'm thinking that is just the perfect start. And then it feels like ages ago now. I think because I've just like really loved every minute of it since I've been just drifting through life during this last lockdown, and then the last like 9 days have been the longest I've felt alive for. So I've absolutely loved it, and then we won again last night, obviously. So it's been a great 10 days now. So just hope it keeps going.
Yeah, and of course we're here today to preview to extra time. Sorry, for last night's game against Southampton, a 1-0 win. A really hard fought one, Terry, really good one as well. I was made up because of the bad home form. But yeah, what's your thoughts on last night? Just your main thoughts of last night, because it was a good one to win, wasn't it? We needed a win there.
Yeah, the most important thing is the final results and the points on the board, and that's all you can really say about the game. It wasn't the best game to watch for the purist or for the neutral, but I don't care about purists. I don't care about neutrals. I don't care about Everton. And I think it was a professional performance. I mean, it doesn't feel this way for a supporter when you're watching it at in the middle of the game, but I felt we were comfortable throughout. We were in no danger of losing the lead once we had it. Southampton had spells of decent build-up play, but didn't really threaten Jordan Pickford until towards the end of the game when they had Vestergaard draw the save out of Pickford. And even then, that wasn't really, it was a good save, but it wasn't like, they were laying siege to the goal. That was their only moment in the whole game. And Everton otherwise were in complete command. Good result. And victory was good enough for me. The performance was good enough, rather.
Yeah, it was. I was particularly impressed with Pickford as well, because it was pretty much the only thing he had to do in the whole game, except for sort of be an outlet with the distribution, wasn't it? So James, your opinion of the game last night, because it was a tough one to watch at times, but it was a win, wasn't it? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as Terry. I've been saying all week since the derby, I don't care how we play against Southampton, because I know they can be tricky. They've got a few real key injuries, mine. So I didn't think it was going to be as tough as the game when we played them earlier on in the season, which I was quite worried about at the time. But I didn't care how we won it last night, as long as we did that. And that's exactly what we went and did. My mate who I did a podcast with text me before the game, like saying, I can't bother talking about a game for ages, and just give us a 1-0, and that's exactly what happened. So and to be fair, I'll take a 1-0 on Thursday. I think they're the games that I just really want us to win now and capitalise on other teams dropping points and games coming really thick and fast. And obviously we've still got a game in hand on quite a few teams in the league with that Villa game. So for the minute, I don't really care how we play. I just want us to get the 3 points, and and obviously we get players back fit and get a bigger squad and what have you as the season keeps going on. But build some momentum towards that cup game, I think, is the most important thing for me right now.
Yeah, well, it was good. It's good in the way that we can probably now put a bit of a run together going into the cup game at the end of this month. And of course, going into Thursday's a massive game now, Terry, isn't it? Because that can take us up to fourth for a little bit. Of course, Liverpool playing Chelsea after that. But as James mentioned, with that game in hand, Thursday's even more important now because of last night, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cliche to say all important, but it's true. They are it's about getting momentum going now. We're coming into towards the end of the season. We've come through the the most difficult periods of the season for, scheduling and, injuries and stuff like that. We're getting players back. Allen's come back against Southampton. So you want to beat West Brom especially, then you've got 3 wins in a row, and you start to snowball then, gather more and more momentum, and you can go into games, because there's going to be a lot of hard games coming up. But if you've got you're coming off the back of a good run of wins and a good run of performances and a good run of clean sheets, maybe, then you can go into those games and have nothing to fear. And that's what we're going to need to do. And West Brom, they are basically not going to prioritise the game against Everton compared to the game they've got at the weekends, I think, is against Newcastle. Is that right?
I haven't checked, but no.
Basically, they're playing a fellow relegation rival on the weekend, and they don't want to be playing this game against Everton. So I think Allardyce might even rotate some players. So got to go into those games and get the momentum going and get a run going, because it's going to be crucial now.
Yeah, and it was immediately when the final whistle went last night and they showed the table, it was just like, wow, that game on Thursday is so important, and we will preview that one on the channel, so stay tuned for it as well. But going on to last night's performance, there was a couple of real standout players. I personally, James, thought Decore was fantastic, and not a lot of people are sort of drumming him up. I think a couple of people shouted out for Richarlison, man of the match, which Sky gave him. Pickford as well was in there, but I thought Decore was really good. So what did you make of him? Because I'm interested to know what other people thought of him.
Yeah, I thought Decore played well last night. To be fair, my dad said he's like, I think Decore's been our most consistent player this season. I said, yeah, he probably has, along with Calvert-Lewin, but I sort of said, by virtue of the fact he's played, I think he's played the most minutes in the squad. I think the only game he hasn't played in the league might have been Leicester. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I think you're right, James, because I think he got a suspension, didn't he?
Yeah, he was suspended here. He got booked against Wolves. So I think that's the only game he's missed, as I say, I believe. I know he's been taken off a few times. I think he got took off at Old Trafford maybe towards the end. But yeah, I think he's been really good for us this season, and he sort of offered a lot going forward and defensively. I think it's 6 goal involvements, which I think might be his second best season in England. Maybe he had that one season at Watford where he got close to 10, I think. So yeah, I think Decore's been really good tonight, this season, and I think Calvert-Lewin last night did a sort of classic striker's performance in terms of he absolutely bullied that Salisu at centre-half. I thought he was pathetic, to be honest. Didn't score, but I thought he put in a decent shift. Richarlison took his goal well. Jordan Pickford stayed focused throughout the game, which has been the biggest concern for me, I think, is the games when he's not very busy, is I think he can then make a bit of an error and he's not switched on before. His distribution was really good. Save at the end, very big. And yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't really think there was anyone he wasn't great. I just think it was a bit of a sluggish all-round performance. Both teams not at their best, but we got the win, and as we keep on saying, that's all that mattered for me last night.
And like you mentioned there, Calvert-Lewin, and I agree with you there, James, because I had a bit of a controversial take about just before half time, where he sort of bullied off a Southampton player and won a throw-in, but he sort of tracked all the way back for it, and he did put in one of those performances that you have to put in. He didn't score a goal, he didn't get an assist, but he seemed to be there and he wanted that win more than anyone. And I made a controversial. I said, if he starts to get 20 goals, I think he's better than Romelu Lukaku, purely because I think he just offers a lot more than him. I know Lukaku was an out-and-out brilliant goal scorer, but I think he definitely deserves them. That comparison. I think if he continues to score the goals like he does, and he finishes this season on, I'm not sure what he's on at the moment, but if he starts to get 20 goals, how is he not better than Lukaku for me? He offers a lot more than him, and if he can get the goals to rival him, then I don't know. I just think not enough people are talking about it. Terry, what do you think?
Well, he was an absolute bull against Southampton. They couldn't live with him. He just absolutely made their lives hell. Like James said, that Salisu, he wanted to get off the pitch because he just couldn't cope. Better than Lukaku? I think I prefer Calvert-Lewin as a player and as a person, frankly, to Lukaku. I think he's far more committed to Everton. He's much more of a quote-unquote Everton player, but he better than him. I think he'll be better than him when he's better than him. He's got to have a few seasons of scoring 20 goals before he can make that call. That's still quite early for me, that, because Lukaku, regardless of whatever else you say about him, is Everton's top goal scorer in the Premier League era. I would love to sit here and when Dominic Calvert-Lewin breaks that and he's the new top scorer in the Premier League era, and then I'll say it. But he's definitely a better fit at Everton than Lukaku was, I'll say that.
I know, and obviously there's that, but I think if we're talking about, like, obviously not at the moment, but if we're talking about projected, you know, based on how I think he's going to do in the next few years, I do expect him to pass that, the way he's going. But when he's playing, I think, and he just would have been a perfect partner for him if he was still at the club, because I was watching him and I just think I'm more confident with him on the pitch that we're going to create a chance than I was with Lukaku, because Lukaku would stand up there and wait for the ball. I feel more, I think, and as well in this Everton side, he's got more, and of course there is comparisons, isn't there, to that Martinez team from when Lukaku first signed. But with this Ancelotti team, I just see him being better than him. James, what do you think?
I think the big difference is that Lukaku came as, like, not the finished article, but he was a lot closer to the finished article. I know he's a bit older as well, and he'd had more experience. He'd been at West Brom. I think he got into double figures there, maybe 14, 15 goals, something like that. And then he came to us as, he felt like when he came to us, he was already a proven Premier League goal scorer, and you know, he definitely sort of filled his boots in that regard. He then did it the next season, and the next season, and the next season, and he didn't have a bad year at Everton. I think maybe the 14-15 he only got 9 or 10 league goals, but he did score a few in Europe as well. So and I think is what Terry said, that's the other big thing, is that I just think as a fit for Everton, Calvert-Lewin's come and he's sort of learned his trade here, and he seems like he's very happy to be at Everton, whereas with Lukaku, it always felt like we were going to lose him. Whereas with Calvert-Lewin, I'm not saying it'll happen, but I can sit here and think that he will still be an Everton player in 2-3 years. Whereas Lukaku, I remember the year we signed him, I think Wolfsburg was sniffing around him, and I remember thinking when rumours started circling, he might not even keep him in the January after we signed him. Like, he'd been there 6 months and there was already rumours. So it feels like he's a much better fit, and he's on the correct trajectory to probably overtake Lukaku. I think there's certain instances where I'd rather have Lukaku, and certain instances where I'd rather have Calvert-Lewin. But I don't think they're the most I think they are quite similar in that sort of regard. So I do think you can get a definitive answer on who's better by the end of Calvert-Lewin's time at Everton. But yeah, I think to do that, he probably needs to overtake him in the Premier League goal scoring charts for us. I think it's 68 or something. So yeah, I think that's what he has to do.
I don't know. I was just, there last night. I just watched him and I thought, this lad has absolutely, he's ran himself into the ground all night. He was there. He was creating chances, and don't get me wrong, he could have had a goal or an assist if Richarlison had maybe stuck a bit closer to them. There was a couple of times where the ball landed at Calvert-Lewin on the edge of the box and he chested it down, and Richarlison was just a yard too wide of it. And I was just watching, I was just thinking, I prefer him to Lukaku when he in his like first or second season, whatever this really is, as you count it for Calvert-Lewin, because he'd been at the club for a while. We actually signed him while Lukaku was still at the club, didn't we? So I don't know. I just watching him, I feel like he offers so much more to the game, and I feel like he's going to overtake him in goals if he carries on. If he stays at Everton for the foreseeable, I feel like he's gonna overtake him in goals. I think he offers a lot more than him for me. And I've been Calvert-Lewin's biggest critic, and growing up, I loved Romelu Lukaku because he was the Everton striker for me. When I started to sort of shape into the sort of Evertonian I am now. And he was an idol for me, but for me, it's just watching Calvert-Lewin. I'm just a lot more confident with Calvert-Lewin on the pitch, and yeah, and maybe it's just me, but let us know in the comments what you think. But yeah, I want to talk about Jordan Pickford as well, lads, because he buried the hatchet last week at Anfield with that performance. But Terry, last night Pickford didn't have anything to do really, but popped up with that save. So what did you make of him?
Yeah, he had a decent game. He wasn't a perfect game. He flapped at a few things, and but he came up when it mattered. Much like the rest of the team, he wasn't spectacular, but when it counted, he was there. And that save from their one and only good chance, that's as good as a goal. That was as big as a second goal. We won the game.
Yeah, 100%. I said on the reaction that won us the game. That save.
Yeah, we won the game in that moment, and I think Southampton knew it as well. So got to give him credit where it's due. His big involvement in the game was to save us 2 points. So credit to Jordan Pickford. 2 decent performances back to back, and 2 clean sheets back to back. He needs to carry on with that, build on it, because he's got a long way back for a lot of supporters, but he's doing himself no harm with his performances at the minute.
James, like Terry said, two clean sheets recently. Yeah, what have you made? What did you make of him last night? Because I was one of his biggest critic, and I still do critique him, and I think he's got a long way to go to bring himself up to the level of the goalkeeper that we need if we're going to be in the Champions League. But when a player plays well, I love talking about them and praising them. So what did you make of him last night? Because I think he deserves quite a bit of credit for that last night.
Yeah, I think it was another big performance. But I was sort of saying to someone this morning, actually, that I think if Ancelotti is unsure on Pickford, then these next dozen games or so are going to save his Everton career or sort of finish it, if you like. Or I think if Ancelotti's already decided that he wants a new goalie in the summer, then it doesn't matter if next 2 months he throws the ball in his net every game or he wins his 2 points most weeks. I think if he's made his mind up, then it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, last night he had one big thing to do and he did that. And the thing with me of a goalkeeper is just you need someone who's reliable in net. There's nothing worse than if you got a goalie that you just don't trust in net. I remember when West Ham had that, I can't think what his name was, that Spanish keeper they signed a couple of seasons ago. Roberto, yeah. I remember when he played, West Ham were absolute pony because they had like this fella in there who couldn't do anything. And you can't go down any good team in football, any team that's gone into Europe and say, oh well, they haven't actually, their goalkeeper's pretty poor. I know there's been some goalies who maybe aren't world class, but like I think the few and far between the teams who are successful, they've always got a great goalkeeper in there. I think John Pickford's got the potential for that, but as I say, he needs to do it for the rest of this season before we even start thinking about him being our goalkeeper in some form of European competition because, again, as Terry said, he's got a long way back for a lot of fans and he's certainly got a long way back for me. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on in the next, as I say, I think it's about a dozen games and hopefully a couple more in the cup. But last night, he earned his money last night, so I was pleased with him.
Yeah, I was just happy for him because it seems like he's much higher on confidence. There was one point where like the ball went back to him and his pass through the middle to Alan was brilliant, and he just seemed to be a lot better with his feet. Made that important save. He seems to just be really high on confidence, and I was absolutely amazed up with it. But there's no real players I think who you could say had a real bad game. I think maybe Holgate at times gave it away a bit too much, and but apart from that, I think everyone sort of was pretty good. Not saying Holgate was bad though. He was pretty solid at right back, and the team we put out won us the game, which was handy. Sigurdsson's pass as well needs to be mentioned because he seems to be up and down. He's such a strange player, Terry, and people can bring out all the stats they want about him. His time at Everton, he's come out with way too many dire performances that a lot of fans gave up on him recently, and but last night he was a bit better, I thought, and his pass was good, and a couple of the free kicks he had, I did definitely think we were going to score from one of them, but just a word on Gylfi Sigurdsson, I think Terry is necessary.
Yeah, I mean he's he's earning his money again now, isn't he? He's he's starting to perform. I think he's. I know it gets said a lot, but I think he's found his sort of role in the squad now. That it's going to be the player who plays when James Rodriguez isn't. I don't think I don't think it works when the two of them are in the team at the same time. But if we're going to play that diamond or that 4-1-2 with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up front, then that number 10 position with the 3 centre midfielders behind him, that's tailor-made for Sigurdsson, because he's not far back into the midfield where he can make mistakes or he can be caught out with his positioning. And he's got more than one player ahead of him to aim at. So it suits him down to the ground. There's obviously a set-piece delivery is very important as well. And, other than the direct free kick on the edge of the box, which Calvert-Lewin won, I don't know why the other players don't just turn to Sigurdsson and go, listen, mate, you've had 3 years here and you've never scored one of these, get off it, I'm having it. But, yeah, he's come back from the brink for me. He was, last season, historically I'd liked him, but last season I'd gone off him in a big way. Much like everyone had. He was getting played in a 4-4-2. And he was strolling the pitch and pulling out of tackles and pointing to pass the ball rather than give it to him.
Yeah, that performance at Wolves away last year was one of the worst performances I've ever seen by an Everton player. That day as a whole was just awful.
Well, he's come back for me from the brink for that. I think there's definitely a place for him in the team. I think he's a useful player to have under this manager. Carlos clearly likes him. And I'm now not in the I hate Sigurdsson club. I'm back in the Sigurdsson's a useful player club. And not saying everyone else is, but he got a really good assist last night, almost a carbon copy sort of move, the one that Richarlison scored in the derby. Straight pass, diagonal run in the net, simple as that. And credit to Sigurdsson because he's turned it around.
I think I'll join you in that club, Terry, of the Sigurdsson's a useful player club. Because I know Paul hates him. Paul absolutely hates him. And I think me and Paul were talking about him on a stream a few weeks ago, and we were talking about that. Like, he fits a very specific niche that he has to have. He can't run, but he's very good at putting the ball in behind. So he needs to be that player with a little bit of space in this very specific area at this very specific time. And we were like, is there space in the Everton team for a player like that? And that was after the Fulham game, I think. And then he went and scored the penalty away at Anfield. So I've sort of, after that, I was made up with him to step up at Anfield in the last 5 minutes and put the penalty away. And then last night, getting himself an assist. And I don't know, I'm always changing on him. He's like a bad smell, innit? He just seems to always come back. And but yeah, James, your opinion on him, because he splits opinions so much. And I think it'll be spoken about even after he's left Everton. It'll be a bit of a debate, won't it? Because record signing at the time, coming in, didn't have the greatest track record. So coming in, he's been at the club for 4 seasons now. What have you made of him? Because I'd like just basically, what club are you in? Are you in mine and Terry's club, or are you in the get rid of him club?
I'm sniffing around your club at the minute, but I'm not in it just yet. I talk about players who have sort of got a long way back, and he's one of them. With the likes of him, Pickford. I'd say Delph, but he's probably like miles away. He's not coming back.
That man's like
each passing seconds.
Delph. We're talking about Sigurdsson here as a split opinion. Like, out of respect for Gylfi Sigurdsson, I wouldn't even put him in the same sentence as Fabian Delph. Like, Fabian Delph is like, for the player that Sigurdsson deserves some praise here and there, and he has the odd good game and he does the odd important thing, but we'll save the Delph talk for another day. He's just, I'm lost with that guy.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. Yeah, he shouldn't be. They shouldn't be uttered in the same breath. But I think you talk about the stats you can throw out. I think now he's on 14 goal involvements this season, and I was saying last night, I think he's been pretty crap for about 60% of the season, and then all right for about 20, 25%, something like that, and then he's
Yeah.
turned it on in a few games.
There's
Even
a
like the
couple
Tottenham
of-
game, that was him in the nutshell.
There's a couple of
In
games
the
you
cup
can.
when he got 3 assists.
There's a couple of games you can pin this season that they were his good points and the rest of it's rubbish. It's like there's the Sheffield United goal away. There's the penalty at Anfield. There's the penalty against, was it Chelsea or was it? I think he scored one against Chelsea and I think he scored one against Tottenham.
Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, and he scored the one against Tottenham to make it 3-1. So he's had the odd couple of good moments, and he just seems to have you think, yeah, that's it now. I'm finished with him. I'm not going to back him again. And then he does something like that sort of makes you go, oh, do you know what? I don't know if I want to change my mind on him, because he'll do something really important. It won't be like he'll score a consolation goal in a dead rubber. He's got a knack of scoring goals to win games or something like that. So I don't know. He splits opinion, and I'd like to see what more people think of him.
Well, I think as well, like you talk about how he's been here 4 seasons now. I remember his first one, we didn't need him at all. We'd signed Rooney, we'd signed Klaassen, and we were playing a formation with one attacking midfielder. I don't know what the behind the scenes was with Ross Barkley, but he was still at the club, so I don't really know what the plan was. He got played on the left. He scored about 5 worldies that season, but I felt he was fairly underwhelming. And then we were talking about the other day, the 18-19 season, I think he got 13 goals maybe. But I remember thinking there was games where if he didn't score or assist, he didn't do much. And then the goals dried up last year. And then obviously he got played in that deeper role, which he just can't do. And then this season he's had good moments, as you say, absolutely, but he's only strung together a couple of 90 minutes where I think he's been genuinely really, really good and worked really hard and been one of the better players. Maybe I've got my Sigurdsson goggles on a little bit, but yeah, it's just going forwards, if he can play in that sort of niche that you talk about, then that's fine, because I think he can definitely do that. But I was really pleased last night when I saw Iwobi come on and he didn't move him deeper, because that was a huge worry, because he can't play deeper, in my opinion. I've seen it too many times now to think that it's a role he can sort of really fulfill. I think it was the City game when he got moved there. It's like, I think if he's going to play in that little bit where he played last night, that little pocket, he's either there, he's off the pitch. I can't see him ever getting moved to that central midfield spot again, because he just, as you say, he can't run, he can't tackle. So I think he's got to play behind the striker. That's the only position on the pitch where I think Sigurdsson's going to be useful for us.
Yeah, I agree, and hopefully Carlo sticks to him there if he is going to give him a new deal. Just final word though, Alex Iwobi, because that stat of him coming on in the 87th minute and having more possession of the ball or take-ons or something than any other player just says it all, really, doesn't it? How boring that game was at times. But anyway, we'll leave it there. Leave your comments, what you thought of the game, and I'll try and answer as many of them as I can. Check out the Babbling Blues as well. Always good to check those out as well. And yeah, we'll be back soon on the channel previewing West Brom. But until then, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.